We are just checking. I don't even know if anybody's here. I'm sure there's not because I didn't actually advertise for this. Let's see here. We got excellent connection. Still trying to figure some of this stuff out. I don't know how audio is. I have no way to check because I don't have anybody to ask. But here we are. We're giving a live stream a first attempt here on JCat Linux. I don't know how many of these will actually come to fruition. And if this does not work out, then I guess we won't continue on. But if anybody is watching, I see I got somebody. Hey, how you doing? Glad to have you. Thanks for tuning in to this probably dumpster fire of a first live stream we're going to give a try. I'm not going to be on here too long. This is just kind of a test run on seeing what all we can do and if it's actually going to be decent quality and if anybody's interested. So we're just going to do a little chatting. So if you got questions or comments or just want to say hi, feel free to stop by and we will just kind of hang out for a little bit. If you don't know me, my name is Jake. This is my channel, JCat Linux. Fairly small, so I'm sure anybody that is watching this or that does watch it will know who I am and what we cover on this channel. But for those of you that don't, if there are any, welcome. I'm glad you decided to tune in. I am very unorganized right now with this whole live stream. I just got a second monitor, mic, camera, all this stuff. I've just got all this stuff set up, so I apologize again if this is a bad first stream. It'll take a little bit to get my feet wet and get things organized to where I'm not looking away and doing all this other wacky stuff, but we'll do what we can. So, hey, Charlie, how you doing? All right. Samantha, why did I quit DWM? Well, I didn't actually quit DWM. I guess I'll jump right into questions here. I didn't actually quit DWM. I was a window manager hopper for a long time. I still am. I love window managers. I do have certain ones, namely Herbstluft, that I live in more frequently than others. Herbst is by far my favorite window manager so far. Right now, like I said in my post, I'm having a little bit of issues with the dual monitors. But again, this is all new to me. I usually just have my laptop and that's it. But I found an old monitor laying around and I got some HDMI to VGA cable adapters, and we kind of set up a rinky-dink rig here to be able to do some of this stuff. But anyway, back to the original question. Sorry, I tend to ramble if you haven't met me before. Back to the original question. So I live in certain window managers more frequently. DWM is one of them. Herbstluft is by far my favorite. I like Xmonad. I've tried just about every window manager out there, and that's not a exaggeration. I have at least installed or tried to install every window manager I can find. In fact, I go onto GitHub and GitLab and I scour looking for weird and obscure window managers. You might have seen a while ago I did a series of videos on different window managers. I love them. Compositors, I've started messing around with compositors. I've used Hyperland several times. I have videos on how to install that on Void and everything. But DWM is by far one of my favorites. Herbstluft, DWM, and Xmonad are probably my favorites. DWM, I go back and forth between it and Herbst most often. But there's really no reason that I left DWM. DWM is spectacular. I love it. I love the patching, and I'm being completely honest. I sometimes just install and build DWM just to patch, just to have fun going through, see how many patches I can get installed, how many things I can do before things break. When things do break, I figure if there's a different order I can do the patches in, or I go through and I try and figure out how to get patches to work. Like my setup right now that, excuse me, that I've got going on. I used a couple patches from the DWM, the Suckless website, and I also used a patch from Bakaby or however you pronounce him, the guy that does Flexi Patch. He's got a lot of cool patches out there, and I actually used one to have different tags, spaces for active and inactive and all that. So I enjoyed just going through, and this time around I actually had to install it about 6 times and figure out the correct order that made the least amount of work possible to get all those patches to work together. Because if you haven't ever used DWM, you know if you start patching it and get going crazy, that DWM.c file gets super bloated, and things get changed and stuff overlaps, and then you start running into issues with patching. Uh-oh, we got a warning here. Not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, as viewers will experience buffering. Uh-oh. So, I don't know how to fix that. So, I'm not quite sure how to address this. I don't, like I said, I don't normally, I haven't really done this. So if anybody's got some ideas in the comments or anything you can give me advice-wise from live streaming, I'd appreciate it. But hopefully this isn't super horrible. It's working fine. Okay, that's good. Glad to hear. I've just got a big yellow warning across my screen that, oh, now we're back to good. Okay. So, anyway, again, back to the topic. So, yeah, it took me 5 or 6 tries of building this DWM setup, and it made me fall in love with it all over again. As much as I say I love Herps, DWM is definitely right up there. So, I haven't quit using it. I do window manager hop quite often. But, yeah. So, Charlie Tyron, no other YouTube dropped your name in the past. Is that a question, or are you, I don't know if any other YouTubers. I know, like the Linux Cast has mentioned to me before on his channel, briefly, just because we've talked about things, and he's big into window managers like I was, and so kind of, there's another guy that's doesn't have a channel anymore. I think his name was Martin Builds from Source. He kind of dropped me on his channel, but yeah. So I've had a few mentions in there, and again, I'm not too terribly concerned about it. Would it be nice? Sure, but again, like my previous video stated, I'm trying to focus less on growth and more on just going back to why I originally started this, which is enjoying making videos and helping people out and doing tutorials. And ideally, if I could just help people, that would be perfect for me, whether the channel grows or not. As long as there's somebody out there that is learning from my videos or that is getting help they need from my videos or whatever, that's spectacular. That's perfect for me. But growth and stuff on top of that, that's a bonus too. Do you find ways to come back to one window manager desktop? Yeah. Like I said, Herps Lift is the one I always tend to float back to when it comes to window managers. And as far as distros, Void Linux, that I've been on for a long time now, is one I constantly have come back to when I do distro hop. It's been a while since I have. My last distro hop was Artix Linux. I decided to go over that. I do like to get other distros installed at times just to play around them. Again, just like window managers, I like to tinker. And so I like to see this stuff, and I don't like doing it in a VM because, yeah, you can play around in a VM, but it's not like hardware. And so actually installing it, which is nice now because I do have a secondary drive on this laptop, and so I can keep my Void, my home setup just perfect as it is, and I can install other stuff on my other drive and test it out and play around with it. But yes, Void Linux is going to be my distro that I always come back to. Herps Lift or DWM now is getting to be a close second there. Those are the window managers that I always tend to fall back on and can definitely rely on. I'm going to be really sad when Herps Lift is no more because I don't believe they have any plans to actually have Wayland support. So if at some point in the next 50 years, if it moves at the pace it's been moving, if Wayland becomes the norm, then I don't think Herps Lift will move on with it. But I could be wrong on that. I don't know the devs personally. I don't know what's going on with that project. But from what I've heard and what I've read, they don't seem to have any interest in it right now. So, second Charlie's question. Which question was that? Do you find you ways to come back from one window manager? Yes, I am still silent. Yes, I am still using Void Linux. I will be using Void Linux until something better comes along, I guess. And since I don't see that happening anytime soon, I will be on Void Linux for the foreseeable future. It's just, in my opinion, a spectacular distribution. It's snappy, it's quick, it has everything I need. I do have to build some stuff from source, but hey, that's just a little bit more enjoyable for me. Gives me a little bit of a fight when I try to do certain things, which is good because it gets my brain working. I want something that gets out of my way and just works, but I also want something that if I'm using it, I'm learning something new. And so far, Void has filled both those gaps for me, and it's just perfect. So let's see here. Oh, Charlie, you're just saying my name has come up in the past. Okay, well that's cool. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear there's some people that mention me and think of my content and stuff. Um, so why did you stop your terminal file manager using FCF? Well, I haven't actually stopped it. I haven't pushed any changes to it upstream yet, or excuse me, I haven't pushed any changes to my Git repo lately. I still tinker around with it. I am struggling with a few things. A lot of times I bite off more than I can chew in the fact that I take on too much stuff at once. And I'm kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Up, the Disney movie, you know, that dog that runs around, he's doing one thing, he's like squirrel and off to the next. Well, that's me. So I'm working on one project and I get this crazy idea in my head and it's like, oh, I'm going to go do this now. So I have a directory on my system, in my .local directory that is a bunch of different projects I'm working on that are all started or half finished or finished but not perfect. And so FZFM, my fuzzy finder file manager, is actually in process. It's still in work. It works for a very basic file manager. You can traverse their file system. You can open files. You can do all that. I'm trying to get image preview working better. And I'm trying to get copy and move and create and all these other functionalities actually working in it. But again, I bite off a lot of stuff, and with school right now, I know I say this all the time, but with school right now, I spend a lot more time doing my schoolwork than playing around on my computer anymore. And so school takes up a lot of time. It didn't quite so much at the beginning because, you know, entry-level classes, beginning classes aren't quite as in-depth and they aren't quite as difficult. A lot of it was stuff I had done in the past, and so I kind of knew what I was doing, and I could move through it fairly quickly. Now I'm getting into stuff that I'm not super familiar with. I know just surface level on this stuff, and so we're really kind of digging deep in school, and it takes me a lot longer now. And so it really takes a lot more of my time. And again, like I've said before, the channel and just kind of playing around on my computer takes a backseat to school, work, and my family. Those are always going to be prioritized, but I do have a lot of plans to get all these projects done because I go into my repos at times and I look and it's like, you know, this hasn't been updated in I don't know how long. I'm horrible at Git maintenance. But I do plan on finishing the FZF file manager. It's just a matter of timing and when I can do it. So what else we got here? Hey, ciao, Ricky. How you doing? Ricky and Baraba. I'm doing good. Will there be a video about application recommendations? As far as just in general, yeah, absolutely. I have certain applications that I use and I'd recommend. So I do plan on branching out a bit more into doing stuff like that. Like I said in my last video, the kind of lion's share of my channel has always been tutorial based. I enjoy doing stuff like that. I enjoy showing people what I'm learning, enjoy showing people how to do things, just kind of figuring out new ways of doing things. I have always enjoyed that. But I do want to branch the channel out a little bit because as much as I know a lot of people do like that, just like me, I don't want it to become stale and I don't want it to become like, oh, it's just another tutorial video. I'll watch that later or whatever. I kind of want to branch out and kind of engage with a larger audience, kind of give people ideas as to what type of software I recommend, what type of stuff I use. And by all means, just because I use it or because I recommend it doesn't mean it's great. I've said this caveat before in the past. Always check when you're going to use something. Always check that it's going to make sure it's going to work for your use case, for what you need. Doing something just because somebody else recommends it or using something just because somebody else recommends it, if it doesn't fit and you try and force that, square peg into a round hole just because X person recommended it or whatever. That just causes more problems than good. But yeah, I would definitely recommend programs. But again, always check them out before you decide that that's the one you want to use, because man, I've found some stuff that I thought this is awesome and I've used it before, and then it turns into a dumpster fire, and and it's no good. So I will recommend applications and stuff in the future. So that is something else you can be thinking of. Yeah, absolutely, Samantha. Glad to respond. Thank you for tuning in and watching. I greatly appreciate it. I honestly expected to sit down here, since I didn't actually advertise for this. I expected to sit down here and be talking to myself the whole time. So it's nice to see you guys in the comments. I appreciate each and every one of you. I do. That's a heartfelt appreciation. So thank you very much. One thing that got me is when you got time, would you be willing to do a base tutorial on Git? Yeah, absolutely. I started doing a video or two on Git, probably 6 or 8 months ago, maybe longer than that. But yeah, I'll absolutely get back into Git. I'm learning a lot with it too. It's a really powerful tool. I love it. So yes, absolutely. Is there any in particular features or functions on Git that you struggle with that you would really like to see checked out, or just kind of an overall general use of Git? You should take a look at Serpent OS. I actually have, and I do believe. Oops, I lost my. Oh no! Hopefully that doesn't change anything. My screen just clicked out on me. I got to change that. I have used Serpent OS, and I do believe I actually have a VM of it right now. I haven't played around with it. I just installed it. I forget where I saw it, but I did see it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So yes, I installed it. I have heard of it. I don't have any thoughts on it yet because I haven't really gotten into it, but I'm definitely going to be taking a look at that. So have I tried Void on a Mac OS X? No. I have honestly never touched a Mac in my life. I have never used a MacBook. I've never used an iPhone. I have never used an Apple product. No, I take that back. How long ago was that? That was probably 15 years ago, maybe more, maybe less, somewhere in that range. I went grocery shopping at Safeway back home. And when I paid, I won a iPod Shuffle, it didn't, not the touch screen or digital screen or anything. It was about this big. Sorry, I'm trying to show you in the camera. It's about that big. Just had a couple buttons on it and a pair of wired headphones. And so you had to plug it into your computer and load the songs onto it. That's the only Apple product I have ever owned and I have ever used. So, no, I haven't tried it. At some point, I would, I guess, like to. I haven't. There's a couple other things that Void has done that I would like to try out. There's a spin of Void. I can't remember what it's called right now, but I want to look into that as well. And honestly, if I'm being completely honest, this might be biting off more than I can chew. The Void MK Live, building your own ISO, building your own, I guess, spin of Void Linux. I'd really love to give that a go. I'd like to build my own spin of Void Linux, but that's that's a big undertaking right now. And like I said previously in this video, I've got a million things on my plate right now, so that would just be another thing sitting on the back burner waiting for me to get it done. So Samantha, you're the one person I look forward and avoid. Respect your thoughts. Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That is really kind. And I don't know what to say to that. I thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And I don't say that as just a. I do that warms my heart to know that you think that. So I appreciate it. So I'm gonna ramble a little bit here. It's 11:30. I've got an appointment at 1:30, so I got a couple hours. So I'm still good at the moment. I want to talk about school a little bit here. Just 1 second here. Just a overall. Okay, so just an overall to use place qtl config. Plum don't understand. My kids use Linux, so when they like to pass on basics. Okay, yeah, I could absolutely do a Charlie. I could absolutely do a just basic overall coverage of Git. It is so broad. I don't know I'm still learning a lot of it, so I don't know all the ins and outs, the heavy, deep stuff. But yeah, I could absolutely do just to do your basic Git maintenance and merge and repos and or merge and branches and stuff like that, logs and diffs and all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I can put together some videos on that and just kind of do a tutorial. I need to start making a list of this stuff, so I'd be happy to do that. So. Wyatt, I bought a Tuxedo laptop, loving it so far. I'd love to get my hands on a Tuxedo. I'd like to honestly get my hands on a Tuxedo, on a framework. I'd really just like to be able to compare a lot of these things. I have my Nova Custom, which is hands down probably the best computer overall I've ever owned. I love this thing. That's not a sales pitch. That's just me being completely honest with you. I like this thing. It came completely bare. I had to flash the BIOS on it. I had to flash the firmware on it. I had to flash the EC controller on it. I mean, this thing was bone bare, like had nothing. And I put the operating system I wanted to on it. It was spectacular. It was literally like just a piece of metal they gave to me, and everything else I did. So in the way of making it my own, I absolutely made it my own. And so it's cool. I love it, but it's my only foray into these custom laptops. So yeah, I'd love to get my hands on a framework, on a Tuxedo, on a Slimbook, on, you know, these just different ones, and just check them out. But my issue is trying. I don't I don't want to sit here and that's a lot of money to start spending on laptops and stuff like that. So I think the odds on that happening are pretty slim. But you know, it'd be cool. It'd be cool if they reached out and were like, hey, check out our laptop. But I'm not there in my channel size yet. I don't think people are looking at me to push their products. So at some point, maybe we'll see. What do you think of your Tuxedo so far? If you don't mind me asking, do you have anything to compare it to? Like, have you used any of the other custom version or the custom laptops, or have you just basically had HP's ThinkPads? Like, what have you had in the past, and how does this compare to that? You bought one of the early framework AMD and the fan gave out. The customer support was lackluster. I can share an anecdote via email sometime. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to hear. I've heard things about framework and about people not being happy with stuff, you know, and, you know, I don't know both sides of the story. I haven't heard from framework. I haven't ever dealt with framework. So I just kind of take it as, you know, their experience, and, you know, obviously they've been around and they're still producing. So, I'm not trying to downplay your experience with them. I'm just trying to be very diplomatic when I say this. You know, they're obviously staying in business for a reason. Maybe they're doing other things right where their customer service is suffering. Who knows? But do I have a Patreon channel? I do have a Patreon. I did. I kind of shut it off at the moment because I honestly had no Patreons on there. I have my YouTube membership. I have Buy Me a Coffee. Do support those ways. If you feel so led, I can reopen my Patreon. And if that helps people, I actually started all that because I had several people request, hey, do you have a way to do that? I never intended to ask for support from people, just because while I appreciate it, I'm not trying to downplay anything. I do appreciate it, and if you want to, by all means, I will provide the way for you to do it. I just don't want to be coming across like I'm saying, hey, send me stuff. You know, I get paid a little bit by YouTube for doing this, and I'm happy with that. If you feel so led to help me out, then awesome. That's spectacular. But I by no means expect it from anybody, and I by no means would ask for it from anybody. So if you would like, I can open my Patreon back up, but I have the other ways, the YouTube membership or the Buy Me a Coffee or however you want. But yes, I do have ways to do that. So use Mint, Fabricio. How do you? Hopefully, I probably butchered that, but Mint was hands down my favorite for a long time. I used Mint when I first switched over to Linux. In fact, before I even really knew what Linux was, when I was looking to find one to use, I actually Googled, is Linux better or is Mint better? Because I didn't know Mint was a distribution of Linux. I literally had no clue what Linux was. I just knew I didn't want to use Windows. But I was on Mint for a long time. I started out with it in a VM and was living in my VM for a long time. Then I just figured forget it. I'm going to partition my drive, and I'm going to go in, and I am going to give this a go. So I set up dual boot with Windows 10 and Linux Mint, and I was living in Linux Mint for a long time and hardly ever getting into Windows. And so then I thought, I'm going to wipe out my Windows drive, and I did that, and I was in Mint for a long time, and then moved on to Arch just because, that was the cool thing to do at the time. I was, wide-eyed and just introduced to this awesome world of Linux. And so I decided, hey, let's just see what we can do here. Everybody talks about how hard Arch is to install. Let's see if we can get her done. And so I installed it the first time and completely borked my whole system. And so we gave it another go. And the second time around, it went swimmingly, and everything was good from there. And I just kind of moved on from there and distro hopped for a while. Arch, Arco Linux. Just kind of seeing what all the other guys are using, and then found Void and never went back. But yes, Linux Mint. Linux Mint is on my home computer for my kids that they use. I put Linux Mint on there. It's a great distribution. I love it. Very stable, rock solid. Have nothing bad to say about Linux Mint. Let's see here. Wyatt, I'm trying not to poo-poo on them. Yeah, I understand. Sometimes customer support in companies when they're starting out or when they're a small, I don't know how big Framework is. I don't know the infrastructure of them. I don't know what they've got going on. If they're just a mom and pop shop that does a few things, kind of like Nova Custom is a small company. Their customer service is spectacular, but sometimes when you get these small companies just trying to respond to all the issues, because Framework really kind of blew up. They do have a really cool model, and overall, as far as your customization of your physical computer, the differences and the options you can do it's awesome. So I think when that kicked off and there were so many people that were buying these things and that were coming in with these things, maybe customer service kind of was lackluster because, hey man, we've really got to pound through. We've got a bunch of people. Oh, we did it again. I got to pay attention to my to my screen. I don't know. Does that cut out on your guys' end when my screen goes black? I just I gotta wiggle my mouse here every once in a while. I'll get a mouse jiggler. That's what I'll do, just for when I'm doing this. And so anyway, where was I? What was I saying? Oh, with the Framework. Maybe their customer service is just trying to keep up with everybody. I don't know. I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but I'm looking a little off audio to video on my end. How's everything looking on your end? Sorry, again, all this live streaming is new to me, so screen going blank, the warnings for the bit rate, and my computer looks like my latency is a bit weird. My audio is a little bit ahead of my video on my screen, so that's just, maybe it's just on my end. Anyway, so let's see here. Laptop is great, running. Hey, Spectre, bye. Let's see here. Please do. I'm happy to contribute. Okay, yeah, I can open up that page again. That would be great. Can you interview the Lunduke guy? Yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about Brian Lunduke. Any particular reason why? I mean, I know he's a very controversial fella. I do know that, but just because you're curious, or is there anything in particular you're looking for in that, or on a position? Hello, sir. Hello, Spectre. Laptop is great. Running Artix at the moment. I just wanted a path of least resistance while having a minimalish distro. That's cool. Gentu's my go-to, but I didn't feel like seeing Wyatt. Gentoo is, there's a guy, Josh Lee, who is constantly commenting on my stuff and telling me that's not a Gentoo video. And so I did my one gratuitous Gentoo install on a virtual machine. I would like to install Gentoo on hardware, but again, it's one of those things that you got to have time to do that, and especially for Gentoo, and I just don't have the time. But at some point, I will get a hardware installed Gentoo up and going because I just think it'd be fun. What do you like so much about Gentoo? Just the fact that you can customize it to your machine, or I mean, that's kind of the big selling point of that, I guess, that a lot of people talk about is Gentoo. I can basically only put what works for my machine on there, and so I'm just kind of curious if that's the big selling point for you, or if there's something else you like about it. Um, Spectre, been using Void for 5 months now. Well, welcome to the Void. What do you think? It's definitely hands down my favorite distribution, like I've said numerous times. But I'm always curious to hear what other people think about it, because you get, usually with Void, you get one extreme or the other. It's either Void's great, I love it, or Void sucked because X didn't work. Fill in the blank for X. A lot of people say audio. Well, I had problems with audio. Well, I'm not trying to sound like a jerk, but I have never had a single problem with audio, pulse or pipe wire. So documentation is great for figuring out, but again, I'm not trying to be a jerk and sound like sure, you didn't have, but yeah, I've never had any issues with audio. So so what are your thoughts on it so far? You've been on it for 5 months, so you've obviously stuck with it. Are you happy with it? Let's see here. Do I think Void Linux will exist in 15 years? Gosh, I hope so. I'm going to be honest with you. When I said earlier about wanting to create my own spin of Void Linux, it's partly because I want to make sure it's around for me to use for as long as I possibly want. So I hope it's around in 15 years. It's not super old. It's not super new, but it is definitely a niche distro. And I know the people that use it love it. And so I think the maintainers are pretty good. The community is very friendly. I don't spend a whole lot of time in community stuff, but yeah, I hope it's around in 15 years. And I will do my best to do what I can. Excuse me. On my end to kind of help make sure it is. Let's see here. Nope, you're good. Linux will be here forever. Yeah, Linux will be here forever. We might not grow in desktop users to be the number one spot, but Linux will definitely be here. It's not going anywhere. There's so many people out there that can jump in, maintain the kernel, that do it on their own. So even if it's not on a level that is, I guess, corporate, for lack of a better term, they're not actual kernel maintainers, but I know a lot of people have downloaded the kernel and are maintaining it on their own, building drivers for their own stuff. I mean, so I don't think Linux in general is going anywhere. There's so many, it's just server wise, just about everything in the world runs off of it. So definitely not going anywhere. I would love to see Linux desktop grow, but it's going to grow at the pace it's going to grow. And so Linux desktop might deteriorate. It might grow. That remains to be seen. We just need to sweeten the pot a little. I think there's a lot that we as users and community members can do to help. And I think there's a lot of stuff we do to hurt the growth of Linux. But such is life. And that's kind of the way it goes with everything when you get large groups of diverse people using the same thing. What's the best way to reach out to you? This space is for me to share my email or contact. Let me know. My email address is probably the best way to get in touch with me if you want a reasonably fast response. The only other way basically is communicating via comments on videos. I do have a subreddit as well. It's very small. I haven't done much on it because it didn't really garner much attention, but I do have a subreddit that, yes, I do still get on it every day and look to see if anything's happened. So you can go over to that subreddit. It's that's linked in my videos as well. So you can email me, leave messages on subreddit, however you want to do it. Is the best way to contact me for whatever. Feel free to send an email to say hi, to ask questions, to make suggestions, to tell me my hair looks funny on a video. I don't know. Just whatever you want to do. I'm there. I will read them emails. It might take a day or two, or maybe sometimes a little longer. But I do my best to respond to everybody in a timely manner and as much as humanly possible. So if you want to reach out to me, that's a good way to do it. What is your opinion on Adelaide Linux? I have never used it, so I don't have one as of yet. I will have to put that down in my list of things to try, which is steadily growing. I always think, man, my list is going to be getting pretty small by now because every time I do something, I cross it off, but every time I see something new, I add it, and I'm obviously adding more than I'm crossing off because my list is just not getting any better. um, Zerkapil, just want to see him. I wouldn't mind interviewing Lunduk. I know like I said, he's a very controversial character. A lot of people don't like him. You can just read in Discord and subreddits about this guy. He's been banned from here, there, and everywhere. I don't want to get super political here, but I think that's stupid. But we're just going to leave it at that. You might not agree with what the guy says, and you might not agree with, but the whole idea of open source and open ideas and this and that is to not live in an echo chamber and not shut everybody up when they say something you don't like. And that's not me saying I agree with everything this guy says, because I've only watched a bit of stuff he does here and there. Some of it I thought makes sense. Some of it I thought, that's a little, but I don't know the guy personally. I don't have any personal feelings towards the guy. And so, yeah, I'm all for talking to anybody. Whether I agree with you or disagree with you or whatever, that's kind of the cool thing about disagreements or having two different opinions is whether you agree with them or not. It's nice to hear what other people's experience in the world, other people's life, how other people's brain works. I think living in a world where everything is an echo chamber of the same thing would be extremely boring. Now, again, I might not like what you have to say, or I might not agree with what you have to say, but that has no bearing on you as a person. I'm not going to hate you for having a different opinion than me. I'm not going to shut you up for having a different opinion than me. Your opinion's your opinion. You're entitled to it, just like I'm entitled to mine. Anyway, so we're going to leave that one alone. We're going to stop right there on that. But, yeah, I wouldn't mind. I think from what I know, he's a larger channel. So I don't know that he would, actually be willing to be interviewed by a little guy like me, but I would like to do more collaborations. I would like to sit down and interview people. I'd like to talk to Brody. I'd like to talk to Chris Titus Tech. I'd like to talk to DT. I'd like to talk to Matt over at DistroTube. I'd like to talk to these people and sit down and just chat. Just a Guy Linux, these channels that are kind of the same niche as I am. And I'd like to go, there's a few that are kind of outside of my niche as well that I'd like to talk to. Primogen, I love watching his videos. That guy's awesome. I mean, TJ DeVries, Bash Bunny. There's a lot of channels out there that I watch. So I was like, man, these guys would be cool to just sit down and talk to and chat with. But, one, I'm a small channel, probably not worth their time. And two, falls back on my ability to actually sit down and have time to do this. Now, like I said, if this channel, I'm trying to not focus on growth, but if it gets to the point where this channel actually does blow up at some point and it starts actually becoming like a viable source of income or something for me, then yeah, I will definitely prioritize time for the channel more. As of right now, it's a hobby. I'm like sitting down right now. I'm having more fun doing this than I've had in a long time doing videos. I'm enjoying communicating with you guys, talking with you guys, just having a great time. So again, thank you all for joining. I greatly appreciate it. Let's see here. I do not want to see the Lunduk guy. Yeah, a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't want to see him. So like I said, he's a very controversial character, but I don't know. It is what it is. There's always going to be somebody out there that you don't agree with. And to each his own. However you want to handle those, that's fine. I'm not saying one way's right, one way's wrong. But me personally, I got no beef here in people that I disagree with. But let's see here. Do you use Musel? No, I don't. I use glibc. I have not tried Musel. I've thought about it. I don't know that I see the benefit to it. I'll probably give it a go at some point in time, but as of right now, I just use glibc. You can do whatever you want for the most part. I've used it for 3 years, and it was at first to learn about Linux. All right, cool. Void is good. I love how lightweight it is. I have an old Dell Latitude. Void is running good and fast. Absolutely. Void is great on the old hardware. Just try to become a maintainer. Yeah, again, that takes time. I hate to keep falling back on this time excuse, but man, like I said, I'm in school full time, got a full time job. I'm married. I've got 4 kids. I've got 5 animals. I've got a lot going on. Would I love to be a maintainer? Absolutely, absolutely, I would. But realistically, probably not going to be anytime soon that happens. I'm assuming you're talking about becoming a void maintainer. But yes. The stream delay is like 3 to 4 minutes. Warning, stream current bitrate is lower than recommended. Have you heard about GNU Geeks? Yes, I have heard about GNU Geeks. I actually tried to install it at one point and failed miserably. I don't remember what happened, but it was a long time ago. So I haven't messed around with it much. What time is it? 12:06. Okay, I've just got a little bit longer here, but we'll keep on for a few more minutes and see what other questions we can answer. Let's see. I don't care about Linux being on top. What I'm happy about is my kids like it and they tell their mom Windows. Yep. Yeah, my kids have enjoyed it too. My oldest son still has a laptop running Windows because he does. He's building games and models for Roblox, and Roblox support on Linux is a little iffy. So it's just easier for him to use Roblox Studio on Windows, but man, that kid is talented. I'll tell you what, all of them are. My 2 youngest boys are learning Scratch. They're in robotics, building robots, programming them. They're loving it. My oldest son is into skateboarding and 3D printing and modeling on Blender and building games on Roblox, and just a super, super smart kid when it comes to this stuff. Super talented. My daughter is going to school for graphic design. She is amazing. She actually, one of her projects was making a movie poster, and so she made this Batman Returns poster, and I am a huge Batman fan, so I told her, you don't get to keep that because I'm taking it. But she does graphic design, and she's loving that. So super great kids. They're all amazing. So, do I use Emacs? I have actually used Emacs in the past briefly. Doom Emacs. I then jumped into Void on the brain. Jumped into Vim and fell in love with Vim, and I've used Vim. I actually just recently installed Emacs again. I'm in the process of building my own configuration file because, well, if you've watched the channel at any point in time, you know that I can't do anything the easy way. I like to build everything for myself. So instead of using Doom Emacs again and just having a pre-configured file for me, I mean, so much so that I created my own color scheme for Emacs. I created my own color scheme for Vim. I build my own configurations for Vim, for NeoVim, for Emacs. I just like things to be mine. That's just all there is to it. If I'm going to have the ability to do it, I'm going to do it because that way I can say, hey, this is mine. And unless you pulled it off of my GitHub, nobody else in the world has this except me. And it's just kind of I don't know. And it might be the crappiest thing in the world because it might have been created horribly, but it's mine. So I'm enjoying that. So yes, I have started messing around in Emacs. I don't use it full time because I'm still learning just the differences between Emacs and Vim, and I'm trying to not use the evil key bindings. But boy, my phone's blowing up. Who is? That would be my wife. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. He doesn't make videos of things he likes like you do. He makes videos of things he hates, which turns me off. Yes, I've heard that. And, there's something to be said for constructive criticism. I don't know if his videos are constructive or not, or if it's just bashing, but again, it's just another view, another side of the story. So, I don't know. I have to check him out a little more. Can you reduce the stream delay? Probably, but I don't know how. Let's see here. This is all stuff I'm going to have to learn. Again, I'm sorry if this is ruining the experience for you. And I'm not saying that to sound like a jerk. I really am. But again, this is all stuff I'm going to have to try and play around with and figure out. Let's see here. Let's focus on this channel. People, sure. No need to take out names. You're a mod. No, I'm not a mod anywhere. Emacs is just made for you. Thank you for sharing that about your kids. It makes me smile being you so proud of them, just as much as I am of my 3 kids. God bless you and your family. Thank you very much, Charlie. I greatly appreciate that. Yes, I am. I am super proud of my kids. I could not have asked for better kids, and I know every parent says that about their kids. But I can't imagine my life without them, any one of them. And I am, when my wife and I got married, I wanted 2 kids. She wanted 6. We have 4. It's like the perfect balance. We are very busy, but it is absolutely worth it. My kids are my life, and I love them more than anything. I am actually going to have to call it a day now. I've got some appointments to get to. My wife's texting me. I've been locked in my room with the kids out there because we do homeschool. So my kids have just been hanging out for a while while I'm doing this. But I am gonna have to get going. Thank you guys all for stopping by and watching. I'm just completely blown away that you guys took the time to do that. It's awesome. I'm enjoying this more than I actually thought I would. I'm gonna try and figure out some of the kinks here. But I have Mondays off of work now. I work Tuesday through Saturday, so I might start doing maybe a bi-monthly or a couple times a month, or I don't know. Get a few more of these out. So we'll just kind of see what happens. But thanks again for all of you guys for stopping by. You guys are awesome, and have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your week, and stay safe, and God bless. All right, see you guys.